Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Sandy Smith, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Wing Commander Elizabeth Fredrickson. This evening, we warmly welcome Group Captain Bruce Chandler, retired, representing the Air Force Association. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's first World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Flight Sergeant William Deldon Douglas Killworth. William Killworth, known as Doug, was born on the 14th of February 1924 in Launceston, Tasmania, to David and Ella Killworth. his father was a carter and the family lived in Scottsdale. He had 3 sisters, Olive, Joan and Betty. Growing up, Doug was fond of cricket, football and swimming and took part in the Boy Scouts. Killworth attended Scottsdale Primary and High Schools where he was an excellent student. After leaving school, he worked as a flax worker and on the 25th of May 1942, he enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force age 18. He underwent training as an air gunner and received his badge in June 1943 when he was made sergeant. Killworth embarked for overseas service from Adelaide on the 4th of August 1943, arriving in England in September. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,500 RAF pilots, navigators, wireless operators, air gunners and flight engineers who, throughout the course of the war, joined Royal Air Force Squadron or Australian squadrons based in Britain. Further specialist training followed in England, and in December he was promoted to Flight Sergeant. On the 6th of June 1944, he was posted to number 467 Squadron RAAF. As part of Bomber Command, the squadron flew the 4-engine Avro Lancaster heavy bomber. On the night of the 7th of July, Bomber Command launched a major raid on the flying bomb storage sites at Saint-Leu-de-Saron, north of Paris. Killworth was the air gunner on board Lancaster POU, which took off shortly before 10:30 p.m. Cloud cover meant that the bombers had to fly lower to see the target, but as a result, 31 Lancasters were shot down by enemy fire. One of those aircraft that never returned to base was Killworth's Lancaster, which crashed at the town of Courjon, about 95 kilometres southwest of the target. There were no survivors. Those killed with Flight Sergeant Killworth were Australians Flying Officer Philip Ryan, Warrant Officer Clifford Jones, and Flight Sergeants Vern Cockcroft, Leonard Porritt and James Stephan, along with British Sergeant George Hayes. The airmen were buried by the townspeople in a moving ceremony, and after the war, the remains of Flight Sergeant Killworth were identified and reinterred there under the inscription, "His duty nobly done, ever remembered." He was 20 years old. The locals at Courjon held annual ceremonies at the cemetery for years afterwards in honour of the killed airmen, and a monument was erected there in 1951. Flight Sergeant William Killworth's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, along with some 40,000 others from the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flight Sergeant William Deldon Douglas Killworth, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.